Chapter 13. Deacon. The room was dark, but tiny lights and screens lit up the room. What in the world? Deacon stepped further into the room and approached one of the TV screens. It showed another part of the warehouse. Or at least he thought it did. Without lights, it was still too dark to see much. He glanced to another screen and could just make out two figures standing at the front doors. There were at least 3 other places that had video cameras streaming to them, but without light he couldn't make out what they were. "What is this place?" This time it was Shonda who asked, but he had no clear answer for her either. It was obviously not the abandoned warehouse they thought it was, but what exactly it was remained unclear. "I have no idea, but this might buy us a little more time." He checked the door they had entered and found a small deadbolt. It wouldn't last long, but hopefully Eric would be here by the time the men arrived and found it. He pulled out his phone and dialed his friend, but the call would not connect. Evidently, something in this room blocked communication, so he would just have to wait and pray that Eric showed up in time. "Mommy, can I rest now?" Dante's voice still held some fear, but added to that was a note of exhaustion. Deacon checked his watch and realized it was past dinner time and probably close to the boys' bedtime. "Of course, honey." Shonda laid down her coat in one of the corners, then sat and patted her lap. Dante curled up on the floor, placing his head in her lap. There wasn't much else to the room besides the screens, but Deacon searched anyway, hoping he would find something they could use to either communicate with the outside world or stay safe from whoever was after them. When he realized there was nothing, he too chose a spot and sat down. He wasn't exhausted like Dante, but a few minutes of recharge would be good for him too. It was oddly silent in the warehouse, and he wondered if the men had left or if the room simply blocked outside noise. He awoke to the feel of a hand on his shoulder. Snapping his eyes open, he started and glanced around. Shonda and Dante were both asleep in the corner. He turned to look at who had touched him and found himself staring into the face of the man from the restaurant. Fear gripped his heart. Had he been one of the ones after them? But that made little sense. Why wake Deacon? He could have just killed them all in their sleep. Unless he planned to torture them first, or use them as some sort of bait. The man placed a finger to his lips and shook his head, indicating he wished Deacon to remain silent. Then he motioned for Deacon to follow him. "Who are you?" Deacon asked. There was no way he was following a strange man until he knew the man was safe. The man turned back to him and simply held out his hand, as if hoping Deacon would shake it. Though he didn't know why, he found his hand reaching out to perform the action. And while the man said nothing, as soon as their palms touched, Deacon felt peace. He didn't know who this man was, but he knew he wasn't there to hurt them. Nodding at the man, he released the shake and then turned to wake up Shonda and Dante. "What's going on?" Shonda asked, her voice groggy with sleep. "Did they find us?" "No, we're getting out of here." "Did your friend find us?" Deacon thought about that for a second. She was referencing Eric, and the man certainly wasn't Eric, but Deacon felt the man was a friend. "Something like that. Come on." He shook Dante again until the boy rubbed his eyes and sat up. "Are we safe?" "Not yet, but we will be." The two grabbed their bags and followed Deacon out of the small door. He didn't think that much time had passed, but there was a soft glow in the other room, enabling him to see the man who stood at the other entrance, motioning for them to follow. Deacon led the way, following the man back into the cavernous space, only he didn't lead them toward the front. Instead, he led them into another door that Deacon hadn't seen before. This door opened into a tunnel of some sort. The walls were close, but there was enough room to move. Then suddenly the walls were earthen, and the smell of dirt filled the air. "Where are you taking us?" Shonda asked. "Out, I hope." Though Deacon felt he could trust the mysterious man they were following, tiny doubts shouted in his mind that the man was leading them into the bowels of the earth to do horrible things to them. He imagined the crunch of bones beneath his feet and the odor of iron in the air from dried blood, but none of that was real. The tunnel straightened out, and they walked that way for what seemed like an hour. Then, slowly, the tunnel began to shift upward. The walls once again became man-made material, and then light filled the area. Deacon shielded his eyes, blinking against the bright light that seemed so much brighter after walking in the dim light. When he could see again, he made his way up the small stairs and breathed in the fresh air. He glanced around for the man who had led them, but he was nowhere. What in the world? He didn't realize he had uttered the words aloud until Shonda responded. "What? What's wrong?" "The man we were following, he's gone." He scanned the area. They appeared to be in an abandoned lot of some kind. There was a field of tall grass to the right that he supposed the man could have disappeared into, but why? Why run off if he was a friend? "What man?" Shonda asked, looking around. "The man. You didn't see him in front of me?" As she shook her head, he turned to look behind them. The warehouse was there, but they were on the other side of the dead end. Even more intriguing was that there was a car sitting right in front of them. "Whose car is that?" Shonda asked, stepping up beside him. "I think it's ours." Deacon walked toward the car and peered inside. Sure enough, a set of keys dangled from the ignition. "Come on." "Deacon, we can't take that car. That would be stealing." "Not if it was meant for us. Look around, Shonda. There's no one here. Who would leave a car with the keys in the ignition here?" "I don't know, but who would leave a car for us to take? Who even knew we were here?" "Eric did. Maybe he knew about the passage and left it here for us, hoping we would find a way out. Look, I'll call him as soon as we're out of the city. I want to get my truck back anyway. But for now, let's not look for problems that don't exist. Let's take this gift and get out of here. If we drive straight through, we can be back in Fire Beach by morning." She shook her head, but he could see the resignation taking root in her expression, especially when she looked down to see Dante half asleep against her leg. "Fine, but we return this car to the owner as soon as possible." "Agreed," Deacon said. He opened the back door of the car and was unsurprised to find a pillow and blanket waiting there. He helped get Dante situated and then pulled the blanket over him. "A blanket and a pillow?" Shonda asked when he shut the door. "Do you really think Eric left us this?" "I have no idea who else would," Deacon said, as he opened the passenger door for her. As he closed it and made his way around to the driver's side, though, he couldn't help but wonder if the man had left this car for them. But why? And who was this mysterious man?